The work in progress Dallas Stars have a busy week ahead, 4 games in 6 days, and it starts tonight against the Blue Jackets. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105.3 The Fan and play-by-play voice of the Chippewa Steel. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Never miss an episode. Free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend and got to catch up on some rest. No Stars hockey, unfortunately, coming off their 4-1 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs, their first regulation loss of the season, but have a chance to bounce back tonight on home ice against the Blue Jackets. And 4 games here in the next 6 days, a very slow start to the month of October. So a good thing that games are starting to roll in. And with the Stars not playing over the weekend, may have been a bit fortunate, and I will only say that once throughout this entire season, but the Texas Rangers, of course, are in the World Series. I know many of us are glued to that, and that's been very, very exciting, and I know many of you will be multitasking tonight watching the Stars and the Rangers in Game 3 of the World Series. But a work in progress was the words that Pete DeBoer used over the weekend on describing his club, and we'll touch on a few more of his statements and observations, as well as breaking down this Blue Jackets team and some of the problems they may present, and some very winnable games throughout the week. Calgary, Edmonton, and a very tough Vancouver squad as well. So a lot of fun getting some games rolling, and we'll touch on a bit of everything throughout today's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So we'll stay here, or start here, with Pete DeBoer and some of his words. He acknowledged some things which I really appreciated, and he touched on how they probably didn't deserve to win a few of the games here in the early going because they got bailed out by goaltending. And Jake Oettinger's been spectacular. And I've beaten the dead horse on Otter, but man, he's been so good night in and night out. And they're trying to keep him fresh because he played a ton of hockey last year. 62 games was just a bit too much for what you want your number one netminder to play, and fatigue is real, which is also what he mentioned. So they've gotten Wedgwood into a couple of starts, and he was good on Thursday night, made a couple of phenomenal saves and really kept the Stars in it after that first 20 when they played a much better game the rest of the way. And he acknowledged that the slow starts have not really been just a one-off. It's been a storyline and theme, even going into last year at home. It seems to be a very feeling out process for the Stars in the first 10 minutes of a contest, and it takes them a while to get into their game, and he thinks they're inching in the right path, and they're a work in progress, and some of the trials and tribulations were to be expected coming out of the summer. And I think, at least myself, were a bit jaded from last season when we came into the year and just like, boom, the Stars were off and rolling. They were boat racing teams. And with the same personnel coming back, not much has changed, barring a few guys like Matt Duchene and Craig Smith and Sam Steele. Where do they fit in? What are their roles? And how are those lines going to all come together and gel? And I think, at least on my end, expected them to come in and just bury teams early and just off and flying, and man, it's going to be cruising through the first month. But obviously that was a bit naive of myself, and we're only 6 games into this thing, and I was very harsh on Friday, I feel like, about the Stars' slow start. But you know, the expectations I have are very high, and of course in the building and in the dressing room, they're much higher than probably you and me. But I expect them to not have slow starts like that if they want to beat good hockey teams and if they want to get to a place they want to be. At the same time, I understand we are 6 games into it. They're picking up points, which is always a good sign. And eventually the offense is going to come, because they've been getting to the right areas. And I touched on it on Friday. Like, yeah, they haven't scored, but it's not like they're getting completely just shut down. They had their opportunities. That second period, they were absolutely dominating the Maple Leafs for 19 minutes. And I think they outchanced the Maple Leafs like 16-5 in the period. Very, very good. They were stacking shifts, and the lines were feeding off each other, which is always a good sign. They were hard on the forecheck, and it ends up creating a goal for Marchment on his first of the year when the Maple Leafs tried to sneak in a change because they finally got the puck out of their zone. And Duchesne re-enters, makes a nice move in the slot, lays it off for Marchment, and he buries it. And that's great to see. And hopefully we have more signs of that. And the second and third period were great. It just was still a bit too late because your margin for error just slims down when you don't play a full 60 minutes of a hockey game. And they're going to get there. I understand that. Of course, the execution is not up to their part as well. We know they can score. They just have way too many guys that can bury the puck. It just hasn't happened yet. They've run into some very good goaltenders too. They faced a few number ones that have been very, very sharp early, and they haven't had just an easy night at the arena. It's been a lot of dramatics, and maybe that's just the type of year it's going to be. A lot of one-goal hockey games. There's only been a few 4-1 games, right? Of course, Pittsburgh and then Toronto last week. So they're going to get there, and the execution will come with guys like Pavelski leading the way already. 6 points on the season, 3 goals and 3 assists. Amazing what he's done. Big congratulations to him. I touched on it for a moment on Friday, but a guy that's collected 1,000 points at this level, you cannot do that without the determination, the ability to adapt and make yourself a different player at different stages in your career. And he's done a phenomenal job at that. He uses his line mates so effectively. Him and Robertson and Hintz, they just know where each other are. And Pavelski has just been such a delight to watch in a Stars uniform. So congratulations to him. The ceremony was great. Jim Neal able to hand him a little bit of a gift or a present and celebrate him and his accomplishments as a 39-year-old, about to be 40 next summer. And he shows no signs of slowing down, which is a good thing. But the line combinations, of course, have changed a bit over the last few games. And I thought Craig Smith played a wonderful hockey game on Thursday, and he had a chance to play up with Ben and Johnston for a few shifts because Pete DeBoer is flipping some guys around and seeing what he has in some certain trios. And it's hard to say that the lines haven't been working because there has been success. There has been opportunities, just haven't quite gotten over the bump yet. And they're only averaging 2.67 goals per game so far. And we're still waiting for that consistent barrage offensive outburst, which I think is coming. And as the games continue to move along, they're going to get a lot more comfortable. This slow start, I think, is very weird. And for a veteran team, it's probably been hard for them to find a rhythm. And Pete DeBoer has spoken on that too. It's just been really weird. And it's kind of fed into their power play too, which has not been good. They were 0 for 2 the other night. It's taken a while for everything to come together. And I still leave out a ton of hope. And I believe it's going to get fixed because this team is just too good. But when you have Otter in net and he can clean up a lot of the mistakes that this team will make from time to time, it makes them a very, very great hockey team. When you have Wedgwood in between the pipes, it's just a bit of a different dynamic. They have to play a different style of game. And they frankly, at some points, have to outscore some teams. And Wedgwood has been good. Okay. He hasn't been awful. He's a perfect number 2, right? He can come in, he can steal a game when he plays spectacular. He's not going to do that night in and night out like Jake Oettinger can, but he has the ability to steal a game and he can eat up minutes, which is really all the Stars are asking him to do because Oettinger needs to have his rest so he can be fresh throughout the year. So a lot of opportunities for the Stars to pick up some points and find their offense here with Calgary coming in, Edmonton, and then Vancouver. A lot of winnable games, including tonight against the Blue Jackets, which we're going to dive into. Let's talk a bit about this Blue Jackets team. Very, very intriguing team coming in to the Lone Star State tonight, and we'll touch on them in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. They have deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. You need a ticket to Game 6 of the World Series. Yes, it's going to go to Game 6, okay? The Rangers would not let that happen. Or you need a game to the Stars game this week. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, anything. And with zone deals, you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. That is Locked On NHL. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Alrighty, let's break this one down as the Columbus Blue Jackets are in town to take on the Dallas Stars tonight. Should be a fun one at the American Airlines Center. The Columbus Blue Jackets so far this season, 3-3-2, coming off their latest loss against the New York Islanders, where they were shut out 2-0. And this is a very interesting club. They have a nice mixture of some veterans and some young guys, of course. On the back end, Zach Werenski, Ivan Provorov, who provides a lot of offense. This team will get a lot of production from the defensive side of things. And, of course, up front, you have some big names, right? And Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey is always fun to watch. He's just pure entertainment when he's on the ice. We'll get a look at the third overall pick and Adam Fantilli, who's been off to a decent start in his career. Patrick Laine dealing with an upper body injury. He's day-to-day, so we'll see if he plays. Would not be the worst thing if he doesn't. He is a Stars killer, Patrick Laine is. So maybe a blessing in disguise if he does not play. But they're playing a lot of teams close, and in the past, they've given the Stars a lot of troubles. Their goaltenders have always been pretty stingy against Dallas. When Bobrovsky was there for years, Stars could never solve him, but they're rocking with Elvis Merzlikins this year. 5 starts. Of course, he was a rookie last year and did pretty good, or maybe it was a few years ago. Anyways, pretty young netminder in the grand scheme of things. 2-1-2 so far in his first 5 starts. 2.93 goals against average and a .903 save percentage. He is expected to go, old Elvis, tonight as Spencer Martin started the last time out against the New York Islanders when they fell 2-0. Their top line, very, very good. A lot of experience. Boone Jenner, their newly named captain, Jack Roslovic, who burst onto the scene over the past few years, had 6 points in the first 7 games so far this year. He's been very, very good. And as I mentioned, Werenski, Provorov love to jump up in the play. They have another young guy in Jake Bean who's off to a good start. 3 points in his first 8 games. So you got to be careful and aware that their defense love to jump up in the rush, and they will be very, very aggressive. And that's why, in turn, I think the Stars can dominate 5-on-5. The Blue Jackets have given up 82 high danger scoring chances in their first 8 games at 5-on-5. So this could be the perfect time for the Blue Jackets to come to town for Dallas, who have struggled on the power play. We've talked about it. They have not been very connected. Maybe this is the game that gets them on the right track, and we see them play a full 60-minute hockey game, or at least close to that. Jake Oettinger should be back ready to go, which is good. So should be a really, really fun matchup in between the pipes between Elvis and Otter. Those are two great nicknames, even though Elvis is his name. But never a bad thing to be nicknamed Elvis. But anyways, this team is very, very aggressive. So the Stars can use their foot speed. They're very fast. That top line can really dominate. And I think this is great where the Stars can impose their will and really, really force the issue and create a lot of havoc for the Blue Jackets and pick up a win and a bounce back win on home ice. But that first 10 minutes is going to be so important. Blue Jackets coming off a night where they were shut out. They're going to come out and give the Stars everything they can handle. And if Dallas is ready for it and off the hop are making plays and creating chances and executing, easier said than done. Hopefully the execution comes and they can really, really have a phenomenal night against this young and interesting Blue Jackets squad. I'm really intrigued with this matchup because, as I mentioned, the Blue Jackets have provided some trouble for the Stars in past when they weren't that good. And the Blue Jackets are starting to head in the right direction, right? They're still a few years away, but they're making a lot of moves and they've been aggressive. So we'll see how it all plays out. Only a 17% on the power play so far for the Blue Jackets, so not a ton to be concerned about if you're the Stars. Of course, their penalty kill has been phenomenal so far. They got touched up for the first time on Thursday against Toronto, but 5-on-3 didn't help, and Toronto took advantage of it and gave the Stars their first mark on the penalty kill. So should be a fun one. Make sure, go ahead, comment. Let me know your predictions for tonight. Who's going to have a big game? I know we always do our shooting stars segment as well. And we'll maybe do that next too. I'll probably give you my player of the game, even though we'll just touch on kind of the busy week as a whole, because for the first time games started to roll in. 3 games here in this week. Well, 4 games in 6 days. So a lot to be excited about. And, hopefully we see the Stars continue to work. There's those trials and tribulations, and there's been a few bumps in the road, but things are starting to come together. I know many of you were pleased with the 40 minutes they played against Toronto in the second and third period. That was a very, very good sign and a good response. And now it's just all putting that thing together, and hopefully it comes together tonight against the Blue Jackets. Let's touch on this week about the few opponents they got coming in the next few days, and maybe even a shooting star. I'll throw it in there because it's always fun, and we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is phenomenal because it is so easy to use, and you can snap into the NFL action this season with America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and tons more. You can just choose a player, maybe CeeDee Lamb, who went off on Sunday against the LA Rams. That was an exciting beatdown for the Dallas Cowboys over the LA Rams, and CeeDee Lamb had a huge part of it. You can just hit the overs on CeeDee all day long. We know he's going to be targeted, and you know he's going to go off, so you might as well hit the overs, and you can do that by visiting FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, a official partner of the NFL. Time to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Stars. Thank you so much for all your wonderful support and your feedback and your comments. I love reading them, especially after losses, because I feel like sometimes I may be a bit overreacting, and some of you are a bit more chill, which I can use, right? I feel like we'll balance each other out. Right? We're not hitting the panic button yet. So I think losses are kind of fun, where we reflect on everything. And sometimes you got to separate or get the 1,000-foot view. Like, look, 6 games into this thing, they're not going to win the Stanley Cup here in the month of October. But I have high expectations, and I want to see them play well. All right. And I will not apologize for that. But a big week ahead for the Dallas Stars. Of course, you got tonight against the Blue Jackets, and then on Wednesday and Thursday, you get your first back-to-back of the season versus Western Canada. Calgary Flames coming to town, and the Edmonton Oilers. Very interesting because, of course, those are the two teams that are playing in the Heritage Classic or played in the Heritage Classic on Sunday. And Calgary will be playing their first game since then on Wednesday, and then Edmonton gets a few days off, which is much needed for them. They've been off to a horrific start, and they will be on Wednesday. So first back-to-back in Western Canada as they make their trip, and then on Saturday to wrap up the week, they will be taking on the Vancouver Canucks, who are off to a very, very good start. Calgary's interesting because they really underachieved last year. They were just not very good in general. And of course, they got rid of Suter. They're 2-5-1. Not very good start for them. Edmonton has just been atrocious, man. RIP to the Western Conference winner, my pick, and the Edmonton Oilers. Well, this team's going to boat race everybody. They got Connor McDavid, and their goaltending is still a problem. So, RIP to that take, but they will be taking on the Stars on Wednesday, but some very winnable games. And this is a great time to get some opponents like this, because with Edmonton struggling, Calgary struggling, the Stars need to, I feel like, gain some confidence. And of course, you're going to have Otter or Wedgwood go in one of the two games on the back-to-back. You can get him into the fold. And if you can pick up 6 points out of the 8 in this stretch here, that'll be phenomenal against some good teams and some Western Conference opponents. It's always important to win games in your conference. The Stars have always been pretty decent in the against the East in the past, but man, if you lose those games in your conference, it seems like you have so much more ground to make up. So a busy week, but should be a great opportunity for the Stars to find a rhythm. Hopefully they find some line combinations they like. I think they struck gold with Marchment on that fourth line. I really do. You can pair Radek Faksa and anybody else, frankly. Delandria, Smith, whoever, Steele every once in a while. I think that line is going to be very, very good. We'll see with Dadonov and keeping him with Sagan and Duchesne. I like Dadonov with Ben and Johnston, and I know DeBoer did not see what he wanted out of that trio. I would like to see them be reunited, because I think it's just a perfect combination of puck possession, great speed from Johnston, and Jamie Benn enforcing his will on the opponent. I would love to see that line reignite, and maybe try Delandria with Duchesne and Sagan, because Duchesne and Sagan have played phenomenal together. Duchesne's looked so good. He should be on the board more in terms of goal scoring, because he's all over the place. He works hard, and man, when he's on the move, he's fun to watch. He's still waiting for that first goal in a Stars uniform, and it's coming. And maybe he's going to be my shooting star tonight, right? It's a matter of time before he buries one. How about on home ice against the Blue Jackets? Look at Matt Duchesne, the shooting star. Let me know who your pick is for a shooting star. Dallas Stars taking on the Blue Jackets tonight, starting off this busy week. Hopefully they come out victorious. We'll break this one down tomorrow, of course, on Locked On Stars, so be sure to check out tomorrow's episode. Thank you so much for all the support, as always. Always appreciate the comments and engaging with you guys. That's going to do it for today's episode on a Monday. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and enjoy a wonderful sports day. Game 3 of the World Series, Rangers and D-backs. And then, of course, Stars, Blue Jackets as well. Well, that will do it. So I say goodbye to you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Enjoy Stars hockey. I'll have my reactions, of course, before the game, and we'll break it all down tomorrow on Locked On Stars. So long, Stars fans.